The first time I saw her, the entire docking bay fell silent. It wasn't the kind of silence you get when people are surprised. It was the kind of silence you hear when people are afraid. Docking Bay 7 on Erebus Station was usually loud, cargo drones buzzing, merchants arguing over shipment delays, and off-world travelers speaking in dozens of alien languages. But the moment the tall alien woman stepped through the airlock, everything stopped. A worker beside me dropped the crate he was carrying. A pilot quickly stepped out of her path. Even the security drones quietly moved aside. And she just kept walking. Her name was Kalith. I didn't know that yet, of course. All I knew was that she was terrifying. She was nearly 7 feet tall, her skin a deep violet color that shimmered like polished stone under the station lights. Thin lines of glowing silver ran across her arms and neck like living circuitry. But what people noticed most were her eyes. 2 bright amber eyes that seemed to burn with quiet power. Rumors about her had already spread across half the galaxy. They said she was the last surviving commander of a species called the Vorthari, a warrior race so powerful that entire fleets avoided provoking them. They said she once destroyed a pirate armada alone. They said she could crush steel with her bare hands. They said she had never lost a battle. And they said anyone who challenged her didn't live long enough to regret it. So when she entered the docking bay, everyone stepped away. Everyone, except me. I was leaning against a cargo container, finishing a cup of synthetic coffee. I glanced at her, noticed the panic around me, and then took another sip. That was apparently a mistake, because she stopped walking. Slowly, she turned her head and looked directly at me. Her glowing eyes narrowed slightly. Then she changed direction. She began walking straight toward me. Behind her, I heard someone whisper nervously, "Poor human." I sighed quietly. Great. She stopped just a few feet away from me. Up close, she was even more intimidating. Her presence felt heavy, like standing next to a storm cloud that could explode at any moment. For several seconds, she said nothing. She just studied me. Finally, her deep voice broke the silence. "Everyone is afraid of me." Her tone was calm, but there was something sharp underneath it. Then she leaned slightly closer. "Why aren't you?" The entire docking bay was watching now. I shrugged. Should I be? Her eyes narrowed further. Most people probably would have fainted right there. Instead, I took another sip of coffee. That seemed to confuse her. "You know who I am," she said. It wasn't a question. I nodded. "Yeah. Kalith of the Vorthari. Destroyer of fleets. Legendary war hero. Terrifying alien woman." She tilted her head slightly. "And yet you do not fear me." I thought about it for a moment, then I shrugged again. "Honestly, you look tired." For a second, the universe itself seemed to pause. No one had ever said that to her before. Middle. Kalith stared at me like I had just spoken an alien language. "Tired," she repeated slowly. "Yeah," I said casually. "You've got that look." "What look?" I've fought too many wars and I'm sick of everyone expecting me to be a monster look." The docking bay gasped. One of the station guards actually muttered, "He's dead." But Kalith didn't attack. Instead, she just stared. Her glowing eyes searched my face, as if trying to figure something out. "How," she said quietly, "would a human recognize such a thing?" I gestured toward the chaos around us. "Look at them." Everyone nearby immediately pretended not to be staring. "They're not looking at you like a person," I said. "They're looking at you like a weapon." Her expression didn't change, but something behind her eyes shifted. "That is what I am." "Maybe," I said, "but that doesn't mean that's all you are." She went silent again. The station seemed to hold its breath. Finally, she asked something unexpected. "What is your name, human?" "Elias." She nodded slowly. Elias, you are either very brave or very foolish. Probably both. To my surprise, the corner of her mouth twitched slightly. It might have been the smallest smile in galactic history. Over the next few days, Calith kept appearing wherever I worked. At first, people thought she was stalking me. Honestly, they weren't completely wrong. I worked as a cargo systems technician on Erebus Station, which meant long hours fixing broken loading machines and dealing with malfunctioning drones. Every day, she showed up. Sometimes she stood nearby, watching silently. Sometimes she asked strange questions. Why do humans laugh during stressful situations? Why do you repair machines that are clearly inefficient instead of replacing them? Why do you keep offering me beverages called coffee when you know I dislike it? I told her the truth. Because coffee is humanity's greatest achievement. She didn't laugh, but she kept showing up. Eventually, the rumors spread across the station. The Vorthri warlord is following a human mechanic. People thought it was terrifying. I thought it was weirdly normal. One evening, we were sitting in the station's observation dome, watching stars drift past the massive windows. Calith was unusually quiet. "What's wrong?" I asked. She looked out into space. "For my entire life, everyone feared me," she said. "That's what happens when you destroy pirate fleets." "That is not the reason." I raised an eyebrow. "My species was engineered for war," she continued. "We were created to conquer. Strength was the only thing our society valued." She paused. "I was the strongest." "That sounds lonely," I said. It was. For the first time since I had met her, her voice sounded uncertain. "When my species fell," she continued quietly, "the galaxy did not mourn us." I didn't interrupt. They were relieved. The stars drifted silently beyond the glass. Then she looked at me. "You are the only being who has spoken to me without fear or hatred." I shrugged. "You never gave me a reason to hate you." "And fear." I thought about it. "You could definitely crush me like a soda can." "Yes. But you haven't." She stared at me for a long moment. Then she asked softly, "Why do you trust me?" I smiled slightly. "Because you keep asking questions." The conflict 3 weeks later, everything changed. Erebus Station received an emergency transmission. A massive pirate fleet had entered the sector, and they were coming straight for the station. Panic spread instantly. Erebus wasn't the military outpost. It was a trade station. We had a few defense cannons. That was it. The pirate fleet had 20 warships. Evacuation ships began launching immediately. But there weren't enough. I was standing in the command deck when Calith entered. Everyone froze. The station commander turned toward her nervously. "You." Calith said nothing. The commander swallowed. "You fought pirates before." "Yes." "We can't defend this station." Silence filled the room. Finally, he said the thing everyone was thinking. "Will you help us?" Calith looked around the room. At the frightened officers. At the tactical displays showing the incoming fleet. Then her eyes moved to me. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "Well," I said. She raised an eyebrow. "Aren't you going to save us?" I asked. "You assume much." "Yeah, but you hate pirates." That was true. The pirates who destroyed her species were the same ones approaching now. She looked back at the tactical screen. Then she asked quietly, "How many civilians remain on the station?" "Nearly 40,000, the commander said. Calith closed her eyes for a moment. Then she turned back to the room. "I will fight them." Relief flooded the command deck. But she raised one finger. "On one condition." The commander nodded quickly. "Anything." She pointed directly at me. "Elias comes with me." The room went silent. I blinked. "Wait, what?" Final battle 20 minutes later. We were standing inside a small combat shuttle. I stared at her. Why am I here? You asked if I would save the station, she replied calmly. Yeah, but I didn't mean personally participate in a space battle. You trust me. That's different. She looked at me with that same mysterious expression. You said something once. What? You said I looked tired. Oh, yeah. She powered up the shuttle. Today, she said, I would like to see if you were right. The shuttle launched. Ahead of us, the pirate fleet loomed like a wall of metal. 20 ships. Thousands of weapons. I swallowed. You're not seriously planning to fight them all alone? Yes. Great. The pirates noticed us immediately. Their ships moved to intercept. Missiles launched. Cannons fired. Kalitha's hands moved across the controls with impossible speed. The shuttle twisted and rolled through space like a living creature. Explosions flashed around us. How are you doing this? I shouted. I told you, she said calmly. I have never lost a battle. Then she did something insane. She flew straight into the center of the pirate formation. Ending what happened next became a legend across half the galaxy. Kalith didn't just fight the pirates.
She hunted them.
Using tactics no one expected, she turned their formation against itself. She triggered their targeting systems to lock onto each other. She led their missiles into their own ships. Within minutes, chaos erupted across the pirate fleet. Explosions lit up space. Warships collided. Their formation collapsed. One by one, the pirate ships fell. When the final pirate vessel exploded, the battlefield went silent. 20 warships destroyed by one shuttle. I stared at the empty stars in shock. You just defeated an entire fleet. Kalith sat quietly at the controls. For once, she didn't look like a terrifying warlord. She looked peaceful. Finally, she said softly, perhaps you were right.
About what?
She turned toward me. That I was tired. Outside the window, Erebus Station shone safely in the distance. For the first time in my life, she continued, I fought not because I was expected to, but because I chose to. I smiled. Feels different, doesn't it? Yes. She looked at me carefully. Elias. Yeah. Everyone fears me. I nodded. Still. Then she asked the same question she had asked the first day we met. But you do not. I shrugged. You saved 40,000 people today. She tilted her head. That does not make me less dangerous. Maybe not. I leaned back in my seat. But it makes you something else too. What? I smiled. A hero. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, very quietly, Kalith smiled. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the most feared warrior in the galaxy realized something she had never known before. She was no longer alone.